Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our 6:15 yoga class tonight. I'll wait a moment or two just to see that everyone scrolls on and that they get this their notification for their evening, or their first evening yoga class of the week. A little chillier than usual. That's for sure. So I have my vest on because I'm cool, and I have my socks on. So if you feel that you need some little extra padding and comfort, please feel free to. This will not be a very rigorous style of class, so it's not going to be a very heating kind of class. There was a moment in my mind I was going to think about putting the fireplace on, but it's not that cold. It's almost that cold, but it's that hot when you sit next to it that it gets extremely warm. But we'll see. I'm sure as the month goes on, it will need to go on. I try to resist for as long as possible though. So here's my theme for tonight. It's called Yoga to help us wind down at the end of a day. In an ideal world, that will be how most evening classes would run, because we really don't need to be overly stimulated at night, and we really do need to, particularly those people who find it challenging to sleep, really do need sometimes a decent amount of time frame to start to wind themselves down for the evening. And that would start with their activity levels. It would start with, say, their uses of devices, the quality of the lighting, and we know that because often our devices will go into that that darker mode as the night goes on. It could be our preparation of going to sleep, for example, baths, showers, again, maybe reading. So the evening should be meant to be slowed down, as I said, in the ideal world. And then the mornings is when we do all the beautiful, energetic kind of stuff. So I know most of us are perhaps having more time here at home. So I thought, why not start to look at some winding down practices as we ease into the evening. And that being said, they're all going to be low, kind of low to the ground poses. And I'm going to suggest that when we do pranayama, our breath work, that we use the bolster underneath the backs of the knees and we'll lie down. I've been, I won't say unkind because it is beautiful to sit up, but I haven't treated you a lot by sitting down and lying down with your bolsters underneath the backs of your legs. So if you'd like to get yourself ready for that, if you, for some reason, feel like you might be tempted to have a little snooze on me, which I'm sure you won't, always make sure that the bolster is on more of an angle. When the head's slightly elevated, it's less likely to feel like dazed and dozy-like. So let me start us off. Again, if you're happy to be here with this bolster underneath the backs of the legs, take that option. And then the arms soften and relax with us down by our sides here. When you're ready and you find yourself in that very comfortable place, knowing that the chin softens down towards the chest and the shoulders draw down away from the ears, we can start to focus and bring our energy and our attention towards each breath that we take. Allow the breath to slowly come in and out through the nose. We notice the breath isn't rushed. We allow the breath just to ease in smoothly, slowly, steadily. And there's no need to force or to strain the breath. Let it feel very natural. And really this first pranayama, when we work with it in our yoga practice. Its real intention is to connect us with the breath so that we start to, as I said, wind down, we start to calm down, we start to allow ourselves to be present here in the room. Gives us a chance just to disconnect from whatever happened today and whatever little things cropped up, and it sort of gives us just a few moments to just say, you know what, you thoughts, agendas, ideas, you can just have a little seat on the back burner for a moment, because I'm doing yoga for the next hour or so. So when we allow our focus to be simply on the breath, then it can also be, shall I say, that distraction from the thinking mind. We use our inhalation to bring energy into the body. As we know, it's our life source. Chinese medicine, we call it our qi. And our breath out's the emptying, the sort of the dumping, the letting go, the removal. It's where the body naturally will soften, and that's just an internal mechanism that the body does. The muscles have less hold or less grip on themselves. And then we just notice the rise into the chest and the belly on our inhale. And then that sort of deflation of the lungs and that sort of softening, drawing into the belly as we exhale and let go. You'll start to notice this gentle, natural, rhythmic flow to the breath, and that's exactly the breath that we're, I guess, embedding and encouraging our mind to continue to recall as we work and practice. So allow the breath to stay as it is. Just slowly, perhaps move fingers and toes, adjust your eyes when you're ready back to the lighting here in your room. Remove the bolsters when you're ready, and just gently sort of slip them out to the sides or up against your wall, wherever you may not need them. I'll come right this way so you can see. And as we head back down towards the floor, if we just gently draw knees to chest here, just a nice simple hug, that gentle press of the thighs down into the belly. So what we're going to start to notice with wind down poses, that they bring us inward. Okay, so they're less likely to be big, opened armed, opening up the chest, like say, big strong warrior poses, or camel pose where the heart and the body is open. It's more about quietening the body down, and we quieten the body down by allowing it to go inwards. Chest to thighs, forward folds, a very typical wind down poses. Slide the hands underneath the backs of the legs, let the lower legs sort of flop down over the forearms and get a nice sort of tight hug. Or shall I say a firm hug? And I re-correct myself in the word tight, because because I was thinking about, I've got a really gentle twist to do later on. And we can rock with this one. Because twists can be invigorating. However, if they're done softly, okay, and they're done very gently, and they're not done with rigor, then they can be used in a wind down. So I'm going to suggest that our poses that we do, we go into them with absolute ease, almost as though it's sort of semi-restorative, maybe slightly in-like, that it could be propped if we needed it to. And just that nice, gentle, slow rhythm, that winding down, gentle rock. And when you're ready, allow the knees just to come rest here into the belly. We'll take the arms out from underneath the legs and we'll lower the soles of the feet down towards the floor, just as wide as your hips would be. Think of that same rock we did side to side. I sometimes will call them windscreen wiper legs. Just let them float down to one side. And then roll them back to the center. Let them do that gentle float down to the other side. And then again, and then in your own time, just a nice natural rhythm. So we're not about speed, not about quick, sharp movements. Keep reminding ourselves we're winding down. What do I need to do to start to perhaps slow this practice down? And it's usually that sort of smoothness, the gentleness, being a little more maybe compassionate with ourselves. And then let's just hold this next one. So for example, if we were in more of a stronger style of class, what we might do is take my left leg and weight the right leg down. So for example, if you were doing this practice in the morning or middle of the day, then definitely add a little more intensity to it. But I guess I'm just showing us options, and if you find that at night maybe any of the practices that I share with us are too strong or they keep you wired too much, then know where you can back off them a little. Yep. Bring these back and we'll go off to the other side. So we'll still hold it. We'll still get all the juiciness out of that, the beautiful stretch of the knees dropping, but we don't have to let it be overly dynamic. So when we sort of delve a little deeper into, let's say, yoga as a practice, we can see that just simply by our duration in a pose, how we can modulate or how we can layer poses can really affect its effect. Effect. Awesome. Bring those legs back to the center. My English teachers will correct me on my language there. Which I'm happy for you to do. Legs go long. We're going to think banana rama. So this nice, gentle side bend. Not a hard one. It's just a nice little one. Let's go legs out to the left. So walk, walk, walk. Same with the heads and shoulders. Walk, walk, walk. So again, just opening up this side body. We can take arms overhead. We could just hold them, or we could subtly have a little hold firmer on the that right arm. Again, I've used that word firmer, but I use it, let's say, loosely. In that it's just assisting to create more elongation and length down this right side. Our right heel will work away from us again with just a subtleness. And again, just to feel. Just to sense, yep, there's a little bit more length on my right side than perhaps what there is on my left side. And we still, you think if we've been perhaps sitting for a bit of the day, or even if we do something physical for our job, we will be tight and the ribs will compress down on each other. So we need to open them up and to stretch through here. We talked about last week, we did that yin practice of opening the ribs and working through the area of the respiratory system. Excellent. When you come back, just take your own time. In whatever way feels comfortable, find your way off to the other side. So head and shoulders right, legs will follow you. Arms will come overhead. Collapse the tip of the elbow. And again, just gently, softly, and kindly feel that opening come to the left side. We always know that the body may want to sort of roll off that left side. So we encourage the left hip to stay down. We allow the breath just to float into this left side rib cage via the left lung. And then as we ease out of it, your own way, just bringing the arms, bringing the legs back, nice and slowly. As we walk the feet back in, take time to draw the knees in towards the chest. You can just find and re-lengthen the lower back. So it's nice in this unwinding practice to look at the areas of the body that tend to carry most of our tension as a result of being in our bodies for the day. And it's things like lower backs, neck, shouldery kind of things, hips perhaps. Lower the left leg, I should say, down long. So I talked about the twisting. We don't have to yank this right leg down, but just allow it to come over. Feel it stretch over this right glute. So if we wanted to really wind it down and be very simple with it, I could use my bolster for this leg to rest on. So it doesn't have to necessarily hold itself out there in space, but it still supports this right hip stretch. Your practice, it's totally up to you. If you feel like you can support really weighting the leg down, that's wholly and solely up to you. Maybe with this right arm, if it feels comfortable, just so that we can create still some nice openness to the chest, we could go what I call those goalpost arms. So I'd keep that 90-degree angle here at the elbow and forearm and allow that to, my fingers are pointing back to this top edge of my mat, and I'm allowing now the openness to come into my chest here and experience. You get an area that tends to really contract during the day as we round forward. And we often notice our posture not as elegant or not as ideal at the end of the day as what it might have been in the beginning of the day, just as we tire and we fatigue and we tend to round and slap. So it's nice here just to open up those pecs. Again, if the neck is comfortable for a gaze, it might go around here towards the right. You decide if that, so therefore my twist to the right will open up the left side of the neck. Roll the head when you're ready, slowly back here through to the center. The right leg will straighten out. And again, just so that we don't strain, say for example, necks and shoulders, we could straighten it out and just leave it up there onto the bolster or on a block or something of elevation. You'll notice the difference as we extend the leg, so it's a little more obvious. over the glute and down the back of this upper hamstring on our right hand side. Again, modulated accordingly to how your body feels and responds to it. If you are really tight and it needs more opening and you don't feel like it's overly stimulating it, go for it. We always do make sure though there's that alignment. So we're thinking, does my right hip stack directly above my left hip, as opposed to my right hip wanting to ride or glide up near my ribs. And maybe we could even press out or extend out via this right heel by pulling the toes back and pressing out through the heel and sort of the base of the big toes. We flex the foot back. The muscles will shrink and shorten during the day as we sit. It's only natural. It's like they shrink and contract when we sleep at night. The muscles sort of, because they're not moving, they're not sort of getting that sort of elongation of the muscle fibers. So as soon as they stop, they pull back into configuration. Hence the reason why often we feel quite stiff after we've sat for long periods of time, when you get up and think, oh wow, so like the Tin Man. Right, now as we come out of this long leg, I'm going to suggest bending the knee and rolling everything back to center. That right leg can then go long, and we'll draw the left knee in using our right hand. We'll roll the knee across the body, doing the same, again with the idea of maybe propping it up if that feels okay. If we don't need it, all good. Goalpost with our left arm. And again, if goalpost is too strong, maybe it's just the straight arm out to the side. The more that it's in line with the shoulder, the more obvious, the greater the conversation. Definitely goalposts are stronger still. Much harder to keep the shoulder down just because of how we then start to rotate into the shoulder. Gaze could go over to that left. Again, just watching how the neck responds. And if I didn't have a bolster to support my left leg, I might just come and let the leg rest on the inside of the right leg, just to give it some support so it doesn't feel like it's hanging out there in space. When the head rolls back to the center, we can extend the leg out, assuming you've got room. I haven't given myself a lot of room. I primarily did it so you guys could see me. So, but you might be lucky. You might have a little wall like me that holds that leg up in place. I don't have to strain my hand. Again, you could use your bolster, stack left hip over right hip. Just allowing that body to begin to soften. Held poses give us every opportunity to allow the stretch to happen, for the muscle fibers to not have so much grip on them and to release and to let go. Again, coming out of it, a nice idea to bend the knee just so that it takes the strain out of the hamstring. Coming back down onto the floor and draw the knees back into the chest. This will bring us up into sitting. Whatever way feels comfy for you to come up, I'm happy with you to make that call. Either way, when we do come up to sit, we're going to start with crossed legs. If you feel that this puts too much strain, obviously on, say, something like your hips or for the knees, we have our bolster. We can definitely use that. Pop the palms of the hands just softly down towards the floor. We talked about the idea of, you know, keeping ourselves closed down. So this is where a lot of that closure will happen, coming forward here. Soften the head, relax the neck. Being mindful of not forcing, but just allowing the body to ease. Allowing it to ease into the opening of the back of the body. No doubt that's the area that becomes more, shall we say, that enters into the conversation a little bit more. Just take your time. Walk the hands in slowly. We inhale. Stay where you are. We'll find eagle arms. We'll just use this to, just remember which one you put in front of it. It won't matter. We'll do it on the other side, obviously. Keep your gaze sort of relatively soft and low. Elevate the elbows and find that space, that expansiveness across the back of the rib cage. Allowing the breath just to flow into the back of the ribs, the area that houses most of our lungs, most of our lung volume. Ease the arms slowly back down into the chest. If we switch the legs, do the same again for me here. Head down, gaze down, hinge and fold through the front. Let the neck soften. And it's a beautiful idea, to be able to change sides and to sit in a pose. And just notice the difference between coming into this the first time versus going into it that second time. Walking in as we inhale, changing the arms for our eagle arms on our second side. Elbows high, shoulders wide. Allow the breath to fill all of the lungs. Ease the arms slowly back down, unravel, and find yourself into butterfly or cobbler's pose. So one of the other typical traits of a winding down practice is making the transition between the poses really smooth and fluid and slow. And you might notice how I stack the poses and how I coordinate, the poses. There is, shall I say, some methodology behind the poses that we choose and how we sequence them, where I decide within the sequence to put them. Noticing that we're just inviting the legs to weight themselves down. We're not putting force into them. And we've just got this gentle reminder via touch, those arms to the legs, just to remind them to soften and to let go. It's a hip opener. We're allowing the hips just to find more space there. And as we take the breath in, the trunk very slowly begins to lift up. We can leave the left leg where it is, or slide the right leg long. So we're still in that half cobbler's pose, again folding down. Let's not worry about going up high with the arms to stimulate. If we keep them low and we just creep forward. Keeping our gaze quite soft. And it's an interesting word, you know, keeping the gaze soft. So does that mean my eyes are half open, half closed? What does the softness mean? I guess what it means is a soft gaze is often like a low gaze. So rather than, for example, like looking up high towards that, you know, line between the ceiling where the cornice is, when the head goes up and the brain tips back, the brain is alert. We know that because when we're looking forward, you know, we're much more alert as we then say we are when we've got our gaze going down. So a soft gaze is a downward gaze. It's not intently focusing on something in particular. So for example, if I'm saying, oh, there's that dot on that floor and I'm going to keep my gaze on there and I'm not going to falter from that gaze. It's, I guess it's you know, almost like saying I've got a bit of a peripheral vision. It's soft. There's nothing in my real gaze, nothing that's taking my full attention, except I'm sort of taking it all in and not allowing anything within that gaze to be dominant. It's probably a nice way of describing it. As we notice the softness as we fall into the pose. Again, I'm not pulling myself down into the pose. I'm not adding anything other than allowing my arms to go where they want to go to, where they naturally want to fall and be comfortable. Breathing in, latch the fingers, walk us slowly back up to stacking. If we take this left leg or left knee in and just softly jump it over the long right leg, right arm grabs the left leg. Now it might simply be this, your choice. It could be the gentle rotation. And I guess imagine that the spine is just segmenting itself around. It's just slowly. We're not trying to get this full range sort of force around. We have got soft shoulders and the gaze is staying low with us. Like we would in the pose in any capacity, we're thinking tall, we're thinking length through the crown of the head. And we're also staying anchored and stable on the two sit bones. Allow the breath in to unravel, to unspiral. From here, get ready to change the legs. So this half butterfly pose, we've got a Janu Sarasana or Shavasana. Again, folding at the hips. So this little crease line across the pelvis is where we fold when we come forward from. I say that as opposed to us trying to sort of dive the head to the knee. We layer the chest towards the thigh. The head will naturally come with us as the back body starts to soften. Use the breath in to slowly lift as we prepare to jump the right leg over the top of that long left leg. Arm in. Again, recreate that equal balance on the two sit bones. Gently spiral from the base. So imagine that from the base of your spine, each tiny vertebrae Does this very, 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 very slow, very gentle twist. So it's not harsh. When we inhale, we let that spiral unravel. Bring both legs wide. Okay, remember that slowness between the two poses. Because we're going into wide legs and it could affect hips, feel free to add any props. If you've got like a little pillow around, you might want to use that too. Gaze soft, gaze low. That hinge at the hips. And the walk forward. The ease that comes into the stretch. For example, even if you had these, the hands here, you thought you want to just, it would be nicer if I could come here and just let my elbows rest on this bolster as I come to the front here. It's going to take any kind of stress or tension out of my neck. I still feel this awesome stretch through the inner leg, the adductors, through this what we call the liver line of the meridians of the body. But I don't feel any stress in my neck. So I'm really allowing the stretch to be 100% where it's intended. Notice if the body begins to adapt to the stretch. You might feel that you don't need any. If you've got some props, you may not need any. Again, just finding that very, very subtle edge of the pose, that yin-like edge. Use the breath in, we walk in. Taking our time. Assist the knees. Yeah, just slide them in slow. We're going to find child's pose from here, what I call high child's. Again, transition smoothly and slowly. High child's just simply means for us that we don't have our bottom and our heels on one another at this point. We still have relatively long arms and we just allow the chest to soften between the arms. I could use my bolster if I wanted to for my head to rest. I thought, I want a little bit more. I want bent elbows, and I want, I want less effort in my head or my neck. So we always know that poses that have the head lower than the heart. Okay, so that's what you can. You can see that here head's a little bit lower than my heart. That they're classified as an inversion, and an inverted pose is a very calming, very nurturing, very soothing kind of pose. This one's probably a stronger version of one because of that gap we have and the fact that we've got a little bit more shoulder opening and stretching. But you could bend the arms and take all of that out of it. Then we keep going down to what we know as child's pose. I've got my legs together here, so my chest is resting on my belly is resting on my thighs. And then I'll go one step further and go wide. So big wide V's like a capital V, and now really melting into it. So the first one was a little bit more working. Second one was sort of, you know, half-half. This is definitely much more soft, much more relaxing. Arms are more likely to find the floor. Belly gets to hang, so it can sort of free fall here. Walking the hands and keeping that gaze still down low. Gradually we come back in. We allow the knees to come together. Come to all fours for me here, and this is just tabletop. We'll find down facing dog. Now, would that be a wind down pose? Yes, I'm going to put this way. If we take it slow, and remember I said when the head is lower than the heart, okay, down dog is an inverted pose. It's a calming pose. We could make it even more calming if I say bring my bolster here, and I could let my head just rest onto that bolster, let the bolster take most of the load and carry the neck here. I could maybe do it as a forearm version where it's still, because the head's being supported, the head gets to drop, the heart rate will lower down. And then ease the knees slowly down towards the floor for me here. We'll step the left leg forward to this front part of the mat, and we'll take pigeon. We're going to walk the foot across. We'll open up the left hip and we'll lower down. Use any prop you might want to. So if you think, you know what, I just really want to go to a hard version, I'm happy to go into a softer version, then find any propping. And shall I say that just because you use props doesn't mean that you're wussing out on it, that you're opting out on it by any stretch of imagination. Like if I sit here, what it does for me is it encourages this left shin to be parallel, because normally for me, for both of mine, they'll want to slide down here near this right leg. So it's telling me that's where it wants me to go. It allows me to really align my hips. It allows me to align my shoulders. And I can come down and I don't feel like I've got this awesome stretch going on in my left hip, but it doesn't feel like nothing is happening by any stretch of the imagination. And it gives me every opportunity to keep sort of tweaking it and keep checking it, because I know exactly what's happening to my back right leg, and you can probably see it. It's way out. That's because that's how my hips roll. It is a challenge for me to bring this leg back in square, because as it comes back in square, then I have to keep turning around. So why my legs spills out here is because it allows me to bring my right hip around a lot more. Like, that's so much easier for me. To walk that leg back in and align it back in with the hip where it should really be, man, that's so much harder for me. To have that little bolster underneath here is a godsend for me to feel that the pose is very, shall we say, authentic. It keeps the integrity of the pose. As I bring my hands slowly back in, I'm going to find my way back into to down facing dog. So as the leg lifts up, we might take a nice little sort of jig here with these legs up and down. Okay, nothing too fast, just gentle. And then we're going to find my right leg to come out in front. If I want to drop down to my knees and not work so hard, that's all good. Otherwise, a big step through, it walks across to the left. Let's see how we go here on this side. I want to try and lay that leg down, shin parallel to that front edge of the mat, square up, come through the front here. Trying to rotate the left hip down, pointing it down towards the floor. So this is, for me, so much stronger than when I normally do pigeon, because I cannot keep that shin parallel. I have to use my hand. And then my shoulders start to get quite strained with it. But I feel that for me, this is just a much more honest version of the pose. It stops me from cheating. And I could even, so for example, if at the moment you can see we've got straight leg out back and bent leg out the front, this could even be modified by bringing that, so we talk about this little half pigeon, where my left shin and my right shin, or so my left thigh and my right shin are in like a little pigeon, but it's like a little mini pigeon. So much easier, less strain, but still getting this nice hip opening version going on over in that right hip. Always options, always options. So as we pull out of it, back up into the hands, slip back that leg, perhaps a nice little walk out again. Coming down with those legs. Easy the heels down towards the floor. Let's come back down to knees. We'll find Sphinx pose. You could use this guy in a second, but we'll see how we go. Sphinx pose is when we lower all the way down, and we find that position where our elbows are in line with our shoulders. Some people will find that they slouch in this one. So try and think armpits sort of subtly pulling away from the floor, just again imagining that there's this width across the back as opposed to this sort of collapsed in shoulder blade, wider across the shoulder blades. We've got this softness to the neck, so these poses like Cobra need to have a low gaze. If we feel any load in the back here, it could be because we're letting the belly just literally hang out and then the lumbar compresses. My suggestion for that is to just engage the belly more. Now, I'm not saying yank it back like pulling it deeply back, but I heard a teacher the other day when I was in our conference talking about allow there to be some tone to the belly, and I think that's a nice way to put it. It doesn't mean that, so in other words, it's not all soft, floppy, and loose, but there's a little bit of tone, a little bit of tone, some kind of subtle working, and as a result, then the back's not in jeopardy. When we ease back down to the floor, we'll go belly all the way down. You can bring your hands underneath your forehead. And as we bend the knees, let's find windscreen wiper legs here. So just nice and slow. Nice and slow. And if you think about what these windscreen wiper legs resemble, they're literally those little flop and drops that we did at the beginning of class, where we had our knees bent, feet were on the floor, and as legs were going side to side. So this is a very nice sacral release. So we'll just go one more each way. And as we let the legs come back into the center, just lower them gradually back down to the floor. From here, I'm taking us slowly back around onto the back, so slow and steady. And we talked about having the head lower than the heart. And inversions. very calming, very soothing, very nurturing on the mind. Plow would be an inversion, though not for everyone. A couple of options we might have: just popping that bolster underneath the back of the pelvis, allowing the legs to go up towards the ceiling, maybe allowing them to come a little further over. That might be it. If you had a strap and you didn't want, and you thought, you know what, I wouldn't mind getting them in a little bit closer, but I don't want to necessarily hold on, that could be an option. Literally just sitting here with, maybe if you're locking the hands, just like we did in our butterfly or our cobbler's pose, and we just invited the legs to go down. Just having the arms here, just inviting the legs to come towards the body could be nice. Those people who'd like to go further into plow, you're most welcome to. It's all about listening. It's all about listening to the body, hearing what it wants to support itself in today's practice. Because today's practice will not be like yesterday's practice. It won't be like tomorrow's practice. Naturally, what will tend to happen, gravity plays around with these legs. They tend to push the knees. Gravity tends to bang into the backs of those legs and causes us to bend our knees, negating the openness of the hamstrings. We might just be mindful of that if we want to keep experiencing the hamstring stretch here. And another beautiful practice, not too dissimilar to this, could be legs up the wall. I know a lot of you enjoy that at the end of the night, like at the end of a practice, so be it morning or night, but find great comfort, find it very soothing, very nurturing, giving back. And I guess that's what a wind down practice does. It's about giving the body back after a big day. It could be a physical day, it could be a mental day. Some days you just think, I'm spent. I've been in virtual meeting after meeting after meeting. It's not something that I always do. I'm feeling really taxed. Sometimes that legs up the wall just can be a nice way to finish your day, as can be any gentle inverted pose. So in saying that, if wherever we might be, we'll gently come out of it, again, not rushing our way out of any of the poses. As I start to finish this off tonight, please feel free to either come back to Shavasana with that bolster, supporting the backs of the legs. If you wanted to do your legs up the wall, you are absolutely in charge here. You're at your command. If you need to tone your lights down, feel free to. I'll leave mine up just so you can still keep seeing me. Sort of lavender bags or tissues over the eyes. Even just a soft little thin scarf is just enough to perhaps take any glare that might be around. It's also a beautiful reminder to those eyes to say, you know what, guys, you don't have to watch anymore. You don't have to look. You don't have to keep guard anymore. It's all good. You too can relax. Muscles and eyes are muscles. They have lots of little muscles attached to the back of them that need resting. So allow yourself just to soften and settle in here. Bring yourself back to connecting. That lovely, slow, steady, smooth, even breath. Just observing how that chest gently rises and falls. how sort of rhythmical and melodic the breath can be, in and out. Soothing, calming you. Allowing the body just to melt, dissolve into the mat. Not holding on, just letting go. Just take a moment as you hear the sound of my voice. Allow that just to bring you back to knowing that you're about to move back into that world outside this room. It allows us just to become more mindful and observant of our sounds. Take time when you're ready to roll and find yourself just on one side.
Stay snuggled up here, that nice sort of inward curl. As we come gradually up into sitting, take time to do this.
No rush. Whatever seating position feels comfortable for you to be in, take that. When you're ready, our hands will come and meet at the heart center. And as we seal our practice, as we anchor all those beautiful unwinding feelings and sensations of just taking our practice with ease and being kind on oneself. I'll finish by acknowledging the enlightened divine in you and in me. With namaste we finish. Namaste. There we go, Monday, the 4th of May. Brett asked me if I was going to do some Star Wars moves in yoga today, and I said to him, no, no Star Wars. I'm not a Star Wars fan, I'm not very big on Star Wars, so I probably would only be able to give you a few warrior poses. So I think it was a nice unwind. But I'm guessing that the 4th of May was May the Force be, May the Force be with you. Enjoy your Monday evening, the start of a new week. As I say, my meditation practices, a new day, a new week, a new you, new challenges, new possibilities, new opportunities. Have a beautiful week. I will see you tomorrow, maybe at 7. If not, we have meditation at 7 on Wednesday. We have roll and release on Wednesday night. Get your tennis balls ready and your socks or whatever you might also want to put into for the little satchel. So that'll be awesome. Bring along the family. Let's make it a family affair. And then I get to see you again on Friday and Saturday. So stay safe, stay well, keep up those beautiful high spirits. Thank you for sending me all those gorgeous messages. I've received some beautiful messages today that made my heart full. So thank you for all of your beautiful kind words. I love hearing them, and I love being of service to you. So thank you for bringing me into your home. And I will sign off. I will go and I will have my wind down bath with a little bit of beautiful lavender oil in it, and I will see you all tomorrow.